so it knocked over the keyboard.
It's the worst. Did you have to get a new keyboard?
I got a new computer. I went upstairs and a colleague of mine was at the game and said, I'm taking the computer.
Oh, really?
It took me the 1 hour remaining to configure it with my email and stuff. It kicked off. We did.
And that was it. All right.
Are we on?
Are we on?
Yeah,
We're on.
Right.
Excellent. We're back here with Steve Hirdt, Locker, and let's just get all our insecurities out of the way. I've sweat through my jeans and my top because it's that hot out, and you are wearing all dark. So we're gonna in 20 minutes. It's gonna be fun to just take a pause to see where we're all at sweat-wise.
You didn't take these weather conditions into account when the rooftop studio was broached?
I didn't take anything into account. I really thought that we
How
had
hot is it in New York?
84 degrees. But on the roof with the real feel, it's like 94 degrees.
The
You know
real
who's
feel?
coming up here?
Who?
Janice Hoff. He's going to be a guest.
So when you said the real feel,
That's why I
you
said
thought of a
it.
meteorologist.
Of course I did. Stephanie Abrams was here 2 days ago.
Okay.
Stephanie Abrams, she's a meteorologist
Oh,
on the Weather Channel.
Weather Channel.
Yeah,
Yes,
she used
yes.
to do Wake Up with Al.
Okay.
So we've had our share of meteorologists telling us that it's,
So the real feel is now what you call it, takes into account the humidity of the
it's the opposite of the wind chill. The wind chill takes you how cold it is, and the
Right.
real feel tells you how hot it is.
Okay.
Something like that. But
Now,
listen.
why don't they make the real feel universal? I mean, that could be in the winter also. Right?
Right. Well, why don't they just make it the heat chill? The wind chill and the heat chill.
Right. Seems strange to have two terms for the same thing.
You know what I did do is I spoke to my father about merging the zipper factory and the zipper pull factory.
I think we have to go back to,
Kick the table just in case.
What do I need?
Now Steve was kicking the table,
I was kicking the table.
so there's cameras.
Oh, I don't have to hold your glasses. Do you want me to take?
I thought that's funny.
Okay.
All right.
So basically, it's 100 degrees. But last time, 2 times ago, you were on the show.
Yeah.
It was so cold. Literally, we couldn't even feel our hands. Also, all we do basically is we bitch. This is what we do.
Right.
We bitch. We get together.
We've never gotten on a show with normal climate conditions. It's always too cold for April or too hot for October.
Yes.
So, but when we were on last, we talked. You said that your father designed zipper pulls,
Yes.
and I asked you just the pulls,
Just the pulls.
and you confirmed that somebody else does the other part of the zipper, the
So
sort of interlocking
the zipper part. Yeah. And you
But these are
said
there's two different factories involved in this. It's a
they're not even in the same country.
It's a two-factory process,
Hmm.
and you've got an update.
Well, no, well, yes, yeah. I told my dad what you said.
And did he confirm that that's the case?
He laughed. And they're on a cruise.
Oh.
So my dad, who I know is not watching because he would have to spend on roaming charges, and I love my dad to death, but it's a little cheap.
He's not going to pay the roaming charges.
He's never going to pay for roaming charge. Anything outside of the New York metropolitan area, he won't.
So he's on the basic plan.
He is on the
Very
like.
happy, right?
Yeah, that's where he's going to stay. And if I needed, it was an emergency, he'd find somehow the nearest port, and he would get to a computer and he would Skype me. 4 hours after the emergency, of course.
Boy, it was really bad for a while.
We're good now, Dad, because of what happened on Tuesday. But it's good to talk to you and have a great weekend.
The waves were lapping over the poop deck.
Yep, it was amazing. They're on a cruise up to the northeast of Canada. So my brother and I are on this massive text that we get from both of them. So the first thing we hear is we get a text, just hit Rhode Island. So my brother and I are like, okay, great, mazel tov, whatever, congratulations. 2 days later, we get a text, just arrived in Boston. So my brother calls me up, he goes, what kind of tour is this? Like, next stop, Secaucus, next stop. He's like,
All the places you can get to on a train.
or driving. Like, what kind of cruise are they on? Ho-Hocus, next stop. Anyway, so my parents are, which is better than Steph's parents, who took the same cruise and forgot to book the return, and had to get out and rent a car and drive back to Connecticut because they.
On the other hand, they probably made it back much more quickly.
Than wherever
Than to take 2 days to go from Rhode Island to Boston. I think I've done that trip in 45 minutes.
Anyway, the reason you're here at 2 o'clock is you just got off a plane. You were covering the Cardinals-Jets debacle last night, but it wasn't a debacle if you're a Cardinals fan. The Jets are now 1-5.
Right.
They paid Ryan Fitzpatrick, the quarterback of the New York Jets, $12 million to be their guy, and maybe the money is too much pressure for him. Is that what's happening? He doesn't have much of an offensive line.
The team has certainly not played well. They've had 2 offensive touchdowns in their last 4 games.
Not good.
Last year they had at least 2 in every game. So it's been a little bit of a downgrade. They've had some injuries. Their second best receiver, Decker, is out for the season. And they had the unfortunate start that every team dreads, that the schedule that they were given had 5 of the first 6 games against teams that were in the playoffs last year.
Why would they do that? Why does the NFL do that?
I don't know. I don't think they had it out for the Jets, but they look at 1,000 different things when it comes to putting on a schedule. I don't know if that's one of them or not, but it had been like 9 years since any team started a season with a schedule like that. But so what did the Jets do? They go 1-5. They won the 1 game against a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. They beat Buffalo, beat Rex Ryan's team up in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. They've been good since then.
Yeah.
But they've lost all 5 games against last year's playoff teams. Now the good news for the Jets is that they only have 2 games left against teams that played in the playoffs last year. The 2 Patriots games hold them home.
That should be good for them.
Yeah. But Fitzpatrick certainly has thrown a lot of interceptions this year.
So I wasn't a huge Geno Smith fan last year. I just didn't like his attitude. And now, even though Coach Bowles, is that right?
Yes.
Says that the ball's going back to Ryan Fitzpatrick next week, I have to say that I just feel like there's a quarterback controversy brewing in Jets land.
There may be, but Smith mopped up at the end of last night's game. He had the last couple of drives. He hadn't been in all year. He only played 1 game in the last 2 years.
Did he go 3 of 5 for like 26 yards and an interception?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but the game was
done
over by the time he came
in. It was nothing.
I'm going to the sunglasses, by the way.
You should go to the sunglasses.
Suddenly,
the problem with me, Steve, is that I play like revenge, right? If someone's nice to me, I root for them. If they're not nice to me, I root against them.
That's been a adorable trait of yours for years.
So we were at the Super Bowl a couple years ago. You and I had lunch at the Super Bowl.
Right.
I might have announced I was pregnant or gay. I don't know. It was some announcement I made.
Right.
And
I think all of the above.
All of it.
Right.
And Colin Kaepernick was at the dinner table. I was having dinner with Jeff Rawson, and he was down there working, and Colin Kaepernick was at another table. And I was like, oh, there's Colin Kaepernick. I should go ask him. And Jeff was like, let's go. I'm like, right now? Like, I should go through his publicist and this. He's like, just walk over and ask him if you can talk to him. I was like, okay. So I walked over and asked him, and he said no. And I said, no, you don't understand. This is for the Today Show. We're not going to ask you really any sports questions at all. You're just the quarterback of the Super Bowl playing team. It's literally like, are you nervous? Are you excited? What's your favorite food? It's like 3 questions. And America will love you. Like, one day you're going to... I said this. I go... And he's like, no. And I said, but one day something's going to happen to you, and, like, you're going to want America on your side. Trust me, this is how it works. And the morning television people, they will remember this. And they're going to be like, I love that guy. Like, he's the one that said... And you know what he said? He goes, no, sorry. He basically said no. And his people were like, nah, I don't think so, no. And lo and behold, 2 years later, he grows out his hair. And now he's, basically like, protesting the national anthem and all that it stands for, and I understand where his point comes from. I don't really want to talk about the politics of it all, but yesterday he starts for the first time against the Buffalo Bills,
right?
The only team the Jets beat.
And Buffalo
mopped him up.
San Francisco 49ers, although even there, Coach Kelly said that Kaepernick will start next week again, so he sort of recognized that the problems on the team were beyond the quarterback position.
So why even put him back in? He's such a distraction.
I don't know about that. You don't know about that for sure until you're in the locker room. Maybe it's,
No, I feel like it.
He's a distraction to you because you're not following the rest of the team. You don't know what's
He's
going
a
on with the
distraction to
Niners.
me because he didn't want to do an interview with me.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you.
You understand me?
It was that thing about you root for or against people based on your personal interaction with them.
How is
So the only people who get an honest assessment from you are people that you've never met.
That is a good point. That is
That's right.
not Rafael Furcal, not any of those guys. How is the revenge tour, the revenge Tom Brady tour go? Looks like it's going pretty well.
2 stops, 2 dramatic victories, and I can't say I see an end in it.
Okay.
He's got the best team, the best coach behind him. He has a couple of new weapons he's never played with before.
So any chance of him retiring this year? No shot.
He says he wants to play until he's close to 50.
Okay, well that's also
That
no
would be
shot.
unprecedented.
Right.
Brett Favre played a long time, but he let go when he was 40s.
But then Brett Favre did the thing that I hate very
What's
much.
that?
Like, you play for one team, you win with one team, that is your bread and butter, you live, eat, breathe, die with them. Don't do like 1 year here and maybe a couple games here and just like holding on for dear life. Like, go out, like who are the guys that went out? Like John Elway went out with the Sunset,
Big Poppy.
Big Poppy went out. I would say Peyton Manning
went out.
No.
You know, they haven't. That was just like a week or two ago that he went out.
Yeah, we're not 100% positive.
Michael Strahan.
Strahan went out.
Strahan went out with a championship.
That's correct.
Back in the day, the one I always heard of from Joe DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio.
He knew when it was time to quit.
Jerome Bettis went out on top.
Yeah.
But then there's the guys that didn't. Who are the guys? The Michael Jordans.
Well, Michael Jordan, he went out on top, and then he
came
got the itch
back.
to play again.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, who goes out on top and says, "That's it, I'm done"?
No, but who's to blame somebody if they want to do it?
I am.
I forgot. Okay. It was actually a rhetorical question.
Obviously.
There was no,
That's not how
no
it should
answer
be.
actually needed.
Okay.
No, I forgot.
I have a few more quarterback questions, and then we'll get to some baseball.
Right.
I could see what's happening in Dallas right now. So you're watching what's going on with Dallas, and you say to yourself, "Well, here's this kid. He was, practically undrafted. He was so far down. He was pretty low, right? Prescott.
Dak Prescott. He was not. He was a capable college player, but he happened to get there. He was going to be third on the depth chart. First thing happened is the number 2 guy, the veteran backup, got hurt.
And then,
preseason practice,
as happens every year, Tony
Romo
Romo has his yearly annual injury.
It happened again,
and all of a sudden...
And Prescott's thrust into the starting role. He had most of the preseason to sort of get up to a little bit of speed.
Excuse me, let's be honest. The third guy on the depth chart in preseason is taking how many snaps?
How many?
Okay, so don't tell me he had his... This guy was this whole world changed, when he got thrown in there. Everything was twice as fast, twice as complicated.
Right, but Romo got hurt, I think, early enough in the preseason that he got some reps to go
as the main guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now...
But then nobody was ready for this. Now the other thing is they have their number 1 draft choice is Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State.
The Ohio State
University. And
I was waiting for that.
He was expected to be the big deal, and he's delivered. He has been the big deal. He's leading the league in rushing yards. I think the last 4 games he's gone over 130 yards.
Do you think he's going to go down as the best running back ever, or do you think
that's a little early to say best running back ever?
But
he's played in 5 games.
I know he played a lot of college football. If you've been watching.
Yeah.
So did Johnny Manziel.
He's good.
So did Ryan Leaf.
How was he not the first pick?
How am I picking all these? Come on, you're a little bit impressed.
I think he's exactly where he wants to be. Ryan Leaf.
Right?
There's going to be a Ryan Leaf mention.
Right.
If you want to talk about, I put Ryan Leaf in the Johnny Manziel category. Anyway, big opportunity, but good.
Wow. You still have your sports credit.
I know. I don't have anything modern, but back then I knew all my stuff.
Really?
I really knew it back then. I really did. So can I? Okay, so
you're in sort of a what's the name of that spy? The movie about the spy. Mike Myers played the role.
Oh, Austin Powers.
Yeah. You're in an Austin Powers sports mode here, where if it's in the last 10 or 15 years,
I'm in.
You're blank.
Yeah.
But right before that.
I'm all over it.
Exactly.
So what happened? Is this another?
I could tell with your Raphael Furcal mention.
You got that one?
The Braves second baseman from 15 years ago.
What happened there? Is there a story with you and Raphael?
Yeah, he hit on me at some point. Remember? Where he talked about me? It was in the elevator.
I wasn't in the
elevator. You
elevator.
weren't there with me?
No.
No, we talked about it.
I think you might have talked about it.
Maybe we talked about it.
As far as...
Yeah. Anyway, my question about Dallas is this going to be another Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady thing where as soon as Romo's ready to come back, what do you do?
Well, once again, you're right on point because that happened like about 15 years ago.
Listen, I'm nothing if not consistent.
But in this case, it's the analogy that everyone's going to.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, because it's a classic case of a veteran quarterback, Bledsoe then and Romo now, about the same age. You could even say Romo probably a little older, and with a deeper history of injury. But you have a guy getting hurt. In fact, Bledsoe got hurt the game after 9/11, so that's how long ago this was. When football began again the following weekend, Bledsoe got hurt in a game against the Jets. Jets
I remember
linebacker Mo
watching it.
Lewis hit him.
Right in the gut.
And Tom Brady came in, finished out that game, started the next week against who? Peyton Manning, of all people. And people saw this is, I think the Patriots were 0-2 at the time. Manning's Colts were 2-0. People thought this would be like the all-time beat, and of course it was. The Patriots beat him.
Right.
And Brady won a bunch of games in a row. Now Bledsoe recovers, and now Bill Belichick has the decision. And Belichick left Brady in the lineup, finished out the rest of the season. In one of the playoff games, the game right before the Super Bowl in Pittsburgh, Brady got dinged up a little, and Bledsoe came in off the bench to help win that game. But then Brady came back, played
Bledsoe
the Super
never
Bowl.
played again.
Bledsoe, well, he got traded on to Buffalo and eventually Dallas. Ironically, Bledsoe, when he was a real veteran, 38 or so, I think this is the beginning of the 2006 season, I remember working on Monday Night Football, and on a preseason game, Michelle Tafoya, our sideline reporter, said that she had spoken with a bunch of Cowboys people behind the scenes, and they were so hot on Tony Romo that they were thinking of giving him the job in place of Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe at the time was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. At least had the reputation, had been there, done that.
Right.
And a lot of people were Michelle, really, that's your sources?
Yeah.
Well, 6 weeks later or whatever, 6 weeks into the season, on a Monday night also, Bill Parcells, then coaching the Cowboys, made the change at halftime, and Romo had the job from that day to this.
We should mention, which I haven't done, Steve, who is the president of the Elias Sports Bureau, which provides statistics, all the stats in professional leagues, is also works on Monday Night Football. So he sits next to the guys, the announcers, and he's actually providing them with stats throughout the game. That's how they know these things so quickly. Believe me, they're not that smart. Steve is the brain.
Oh,
he gives his brain to them and says, this is what's going on, and they say this is
things like
what's
that
going
now.
on. No. You need Steve. There's no game without Steve.
So that's
very
the but
interesting.
the story is now so that the Cowboys now are faced with sort of the same decision that Belichick was faced with in 2001, which was, do you go with the hot hand or do you go with the guy? There's this old, there's 1,000 unwritten rules in sports. One of them is you don't lose your job through an injury, which I've never understood.
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. If somebody better comes along, you're going to lose your job
Right.
through an injury.
The rule right after that is there are no feelings in professional sports. Like it's the only thing that matters is the W.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So then the rule right before that can't mean anything.
Right.
So you want my opinion?
Yes.
I'm sure you do.
Yes.
Whoever's got the hot hand. I'm sorry. Play it out.
I think that's the general feeling right now that it'll happen. Like, it's
All right.
it'll be fun to watch in a couple of weeks. I think Dallas may. I'm not sure what their schedule is coming up, but
Are the Vikings the only undefeated team left?
yes,
And they were off this week,
they were
right?
off this week to get back in next week.
Nice.
So-
All right. My last football question to you, and then if there are any questions, I will take them before we get to baseball.
Okay.
I just am so put off by the whole Odell Beckham Jr. show. Did you see
Yes.
that? I couldn't even formulate a sentence.
Yes.
It really, really bothered me. I'm all for getting excited,
Well,
but
you
I'm
should-
also
you should-
all for acting like
you have
you've
to
been there.
not assume everybody saw the.
Oh, so Odell Beckham Jr., the Giants are struggling, and he scores this amazing touchdown, 76 yards or something, whatever it was. Runs through the end zone. Couldn't get more excited. Jumped up and down. You can never take your helmet off. Takes his helmet off, throws it on the floor, runs over to his net, bows to the net. He's got this whole relationship with the net, the net that crashed down on him a couple weeks ago. Runs up and down the sideline. They incur a 15-yard penalty as a result. Let me tell you, if Baltimore ended up doing something with that, that would have been a big deal.
Right.
And anyway, it just really bothered me. There's something to be said for I don't need you to be completely act like you've been there before, but something in between is my hope.
A couple thoughts. First, great use of the word encouragement.
Thank
I mean,
you
that's
so much.
I know that's not in your normal vocabulary.
No, it's just from watching football.
But that
Thank
penalty
you.
was indeed incurred.
Thank
and,
you. Love
In
him.
fact, it was enforced also.
It was enforced and incurred.
So,
It incurred first, and then it was enforced.
you know, it's hard to imagine what he's thinking of. All of those things seem to be, it's about me, and it doesn't go over very well generally in team sports. Even when, or maybe I should say especially when, it's the best player on the team who's doing it.
Right.
Having said that, he did score those. He did gain those 222 yards or whatever it was on passes, and had those 2 long touchdown bombs.
So you're saying it works for him, so he should keep doing it?
No, I'm just saying that there's some athletes who really feed on that stuff, and I think from anybody who runs a team with a player like that, and now I'm not talking about the Giants specifically, but other teams, other players, you don't want to take away enthusiasm and that sort of macho bravado that kind of drives performance in a lot of cases.
Correct.
So I'm saying, from the outside, it's easy for us to say, yeah, we don't like that. Yeah, you potentially hurt the team with a penalty, but you don't know if you pull that string and pull the leash on them and pull back on that. Well, maybe that has A, B, and C consequences that you're not seeing that a lot. So.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, that's it's everything is a two-sided question in sports. You can make the most one-sided looking thing. Yeah, of course, I'd keep Prescott in the game. Yeah, but this is history of not losing a job through injury and stuff like that. So I'm
look, head coaches, general managers, they have tough decisions to make.
They do.
They have a lot of decisions to make. Okay, so that's good. I'm glad we did. Is there anything you want to know about football?
No, actually, the comments have been more they're waiting for the baseball part.
Okay, let's talk baseball.
Oh.
Did you catch the game last night?
No, what went on? Did you see Trevor Bauer's finger?
I did not.
Okay.
You'd have a hard time with that kind of stuff.
What's that?
Anything that's not perfect.
It's an injury?
Yeah.
Blood and gore? A pitcher dripping blood on the mound?
Okay, so I was trying to avoid it.
Okay.
And Lance has brought me back. I did not. I could not. I will not.
So, what was it? About a week ago, this pitcher, Trevor Bauer for the Indians, who was scheduled to pitch Game 2 of the playoff series against Toronto, but he got injured in who among us hasn't gotten injured by trying to repair a drone? It was an injury that
could have been avoided. Jason Paul Pierre.
Yeah. But he apparently wound up with a 10-stitch gash on the pinky of his pitching hand, his right hand.
Honestly.
And they pushed back his start 2 days from Game 2 to Game 3. There was an off day intervening. And said, okay, he's ready to go. And when he pitched in the first inning last night, I think he got through. He got 2 outs, walked 2 guys, and then was like dripping blood from the gash on his pinky, which had opened up. And as you know, in baseball, you're not allowed to put any substances on the ball.
Correct.
So this kind of a...
He's like, what would help this? Cork. Does anyone have some Vaseline?
He was, he's in fact throwing the blood bowl there for a couple batters, I guess. But the manager came out, the umpire came out and said, you can't be bleeding like that and be in the game. So they took him out of the game. So now the Indians they've gotten 2 outs in the first inning. They've got 8 1/3 innings left to play with their remaining pitchers. And Terry Francona mixed and matched and did a great job. I don't think any one pitcher got as many as 6 outs. I think everybody got 5 outs or less. Little piece here, little piece there. 7 other guys come in, finish the game out.
What does that do for their pitching tomorrow, or the next game
today?
out?
A lot of good point.
Today, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock today, so they're bringing back the guy who pitched, even though they have a 3-0 lead in the series, they're bringing back the guy who pitched in the first game of the series, Corey Kluber, probably the best pitcher, and he's going to pitch today on short rest, because he wants to step forward and help out the rest of the bullpen, which got beleaguered yesterday with all these extra innings that hadn't pitched.
So I'm just telling you that if I was a general manager, I would let this guy go.
You would?
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is how I am. Listen, I'm a no-nonsense kind of leader.
You're of the one strike variety. One strike and you're out.
This is the most important thing in your life besides your family. This is the most important thing in your life.
Right.
So you want to do anything that could possibly in any way, shape, or form injure you, do it after the playoffs are over.
When he was trying to repair the drone, whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't think he had the full story.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Elias with, what's his name? Paul Pierre? JPP. At least you got the full story. He was messing around with fireworks and blew off his hand. I don't think you got the full story with the drone. Trust me. It's too easy.
You think there's more to it?
Yeah, I've seen a drone up close. It has to fall on your face.
How big are they? Do they come
They
in
could be
all
this
sizes?
big.
No, he brought it to the press conference. It looks small.
All right, well then that's really pathetic.
Yeah. And what do you do with them, really? What do you do?
You infringe on other people's...
You spy.
Basically.
Right.
Okay, so now Cleveland's up 3-0 over the Blue Jays. You would think easy, one more game. This is not going to be an easy game for them. They're going to have to dip back into the well much quicker this time because their main guy is going on short rest.
Right.
And if they do win, it's a shame because the Blue Jays had a nice season.
Yes. As you know, only one team in baseball history in the postseason came back from a 3-0 deficit to win the series. No, not Atlanta. That must have been the last 15 years. Yeah, it was actually in 2004, wasn't it?
I don't even know what that means.
2004 is the blind spot. You were transitioning then to
Give me a
today's
hint.
show. Here's the initials: BRS. That's the team's initials.
The
baseball team.
Where Boston Red
your
Sox.
parents' last port of call.
Boston Red Sox. Next stop, Persephone. Next stop, Persephone.
And you remember who the Red Sox beat after losing the first 3 games? Absolutely.
I was there.
It's coming all back.
Dave Roberts, who's the manager for the Dodgers, was on that team. Right?
Dave Roberts had a big stolen base to spark the rally in the first of the 4
I love
victories.
how much you know. Okay, so now they're 0-3, so it's going to be, it's tough, but it's possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, where's the Cubs series right now?
Cubs series is tied 1-1, and they resume with a night game tonight in LA. The next 3 games are in LA. So you might think advantage Dodgers. Oh, they're night games. They started. No, they're not super late Eastern time.
Oh, okay, they're 4 o'clock games out there.
5 out there, probably 8 here.
Okay.
So
if it's 5 out there, it's definitely 8.
Yes, I meant it's probably 5 o'clock start.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, we have a bigger story.
Big time story. Yes, so I'm thinking
so you
there's
might
an advantage out there.
Next 3 games, Dodger advantage, except if you look at who's pitching, the pitching matchups in each of the next 3 games, probably advantage Cubs, advantage Cubs, advantage Cubs.
Nice.
So in baseball, so much has to do with who that day's starting pitcher is. Today for the Cubs, it's Jake Arrieta, who last year won the Cy Young Award, pitched a no-hitter against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium, and pitched another no-hitter, the only one in the majors this year.
Is he with the beard?
Yes.
Okay.
Workout freak.
That's why I know him.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Workout freak.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Real nice guy. I like that guy.
But
that guy
really turned his career around. Last year was the guy who drove the Cubs into the playoffs. Won 22 games. This year, when you win 22 games in the season, it's kind of unrealistic to expect that again. So this year he won 18, which was, damn good.
Yeah.
So
predict it for me. What do you think?
Oh, predict.
I
don't know. Here's the Dodgers' point. The Dodgers are thinking, if we can take 2 out of 3 at home, then we go back to Wrigley Field, and who's going to pitch in our 6th game? Our best pitcher,
Bumgarner.
Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
Bumgarner is out now.
Yeah, he's playing for San Francisco.
When people say best pitcher, you can't respond to that until next spring. You don't get back on the field next spring.
Okay.
So, but Clayton Kershaw is their best pitcher. Just beat the Cubs 1-0 in Wrigley on Sunday night.
Okay.
And but he won't be ready to go again until the series gets back there next weekend. So, but it's a very interesting series nonetheless. Cubs Dodgers. I mean, here's the thing: the four teams that are still alive, none of them has won a World Series in a long time.
Yeah, but none longer than Chicago.
No, 1908.
1908. Right?
They had a terrific pennant race with the Giants. The Giants were then the New York Giants.
Yeah.
And there was a controversial game right near the end, and both teams claimed they won it, and the league president ruled it a tie, and they had to play it off right at the end because they were tied.
This is 1908?
1908. If everybody had the field vision of the entire scope of baseball history, this probably would have been the most controversial game ever played.
Is this the game where like the play happened at second base or something?
Well, look at Lance. Is he on top?
Yeah.
Or he's much older than he's sharing?
I was there.
Okay.
I was one of the people who stormed the field.
All right, so the nutshell story is it was a 1-1 game at New York, bottom of the ninth inning. Giants had runners on first and third, 2 out.
Okay.
They get a hit, they'll win the game. Batter hits what looks like a clean single to center field. Runner on third comes in, apparently scores the winning run. The runner on first, who was a rookie player, saw the hit go into center field and never ran to second base
Just came home.
to touch it up. He just ran off into the clubhouse. In those days, the way people would get out of the stadium at the end of the game is they would come out on the field and go out through exit gates that were in the outfield.
Right.
So there's like 10,000 people on the field. And among them, the Cubs' second baseman standing on second base screaming for the center fielder to throw him the ball. The Giants' coach at third base sees what's going on, wrestles the guy for the ball. This is all going on. I always thought this would be a fantastic movie. Somehow a ball is produced, thrown into the second baseman, a guy named Johnny Evers, now in the Hall of Fame, and he steps on second and appeals to the umpire, hey, wait a second, there should be a force play, just as if it were a ground ball to shortstop. And they force the runner at second. And when it's a force play for the third out, the run doesn't count. And the umpire, by chance, was the same umpire from a game 3 weeks earlier in Pittsburgh when the exact same thing happened. And Johnny Evers had the ball at second base, and the umpire at that point said, I wasn't watching. I just thought the winning run was over, and so he ruled against him then. But in the intervening time, he had said, I've thought about it, and I have to watch that play from now on. That same ump was in New York. He rules the batter out. Now there's 10,000 people on the field. The Cubs are ready to go to the 10th inning, and they claim they should win the game by forfeit because the field was covered. The Giants said we won fair and square, so they put it in the lap of the National League president. He ruled it a tie. And they had to play the game at the end of the season, so the Cubs come back to New York.
That was a regular season game?
That was a regular season game.
Oh, my God. I thought that was the World Series. I'm exhausted from following so intently.
But you were still with me when I said it was a forced play so that the run wouldn't count. You knew that. You finished my sentence there.
Of course I knew that. It was more than 15 years ago.
Well, this was in 1908. You were really an expert back then.
Oh, God.
So anyway,
exhausted.
the Cubs win the playoff game. They get to the World Series. They beat the Tigers in the World Series. And that was the last World Series they won. So all this stuff about the Billy
What does that have to do with the game?
Billy Goat, what's that?
What in the world does that have to do with that regular season game?
Well, because that game was ruled a tie, the teams were one game short in the standings. They only played 153 instead of 154.
Right.
So if the Giants had won that game, they would have won the pennant. They would have gotten to the World Series. The Cubs wouldn't have even been in the World Series. If the Cubs had been the winners of that game, they would have won the World Series without winning this playoff game in New York. But that game, the rookie who didn't touch up at second base went on to have a long career. His name was Fred Merkle, but he was always known as Bonehead Merkle after that.
Well, look at Wade Boggs. Doesn't matter. Not Wade Boggs. What's his name that let the ball go between his legs?
Bill Buckner.
Bill Buckner.
Yeah.
Or what's his name that played for the Buffalo Bills, the kicker?
Scott Norwood.
Scott Norwood. I mean, these are the bonehead plays, but
well, yeah, but
doesn't mean
those
they're
were
bonehead
actual
guys.
physical things that didn't work out. Norwood.
Well, Merkle.
Yeah, well, Merkle just said, "I'm getting to the clubhouse."
You wonder whether Buckner goes a day without thinking about that.
It seems he's coming to peace with a little bit. He did the Larry David show. He did Curb Your Enthusiasm on it. Do you remember seeing that show?
I don't remember, but I read about it.
Like he's reticent during the whole show, and then in the final scene, he's walking past the fire, and somebody tosses a baby out the window, and Buckner catches it. He's a hero.
Oh, that's very funny.
I think he caught it. Maybe
went between his legs.
And now I see him doing a public service with Mookie Wilson.
Mookie.
and walking through the park, and somebody
Yeah.
rolls the ball to them and it gets by them. Stuff like
Oh, that's very funny.
that. Mookie hit that ball.
Anything else you want us to address?
Yeah, I don't think the viewers were thinking about 1980
When they tuned
Merkle
in.
game. But,
No. But I'm glad you brought that up because now I know about the Merkle game.
But here's the other thing. I've got like a bunch of phone messages. I just checked my messages because back to football for a minute. Like in my obituary, whenever that is written, probably the second paragraph will be that I discovered the Redskins rule of predicting presidential elections.
Which is?
Well, discovered in the year 2000, whenever the Redskins had won their last home game prior to an election, the incumbent party won the election, won the White House. And whenever the Redskins had lost their last home game prior to the presidential election, the out-of-power party won the White House.
How on God's green earth did you ever even think to look up that stat? Why the Redskins? Why didn't you? Because in Washington.
Had a couple minutes before a Monday night game in Washington. That was the last night game.
I can't even believe I'm friends with a statistician. Go on. Because it was
and
Washington.
it was
that's why.
15 for 15 at that point. 15 for 15.
And then?
And then in 2000, the Redskins lost the last home game before the election. The game was on Monday night. And so the out-of-power party, Bush, won the election during the 37 days of disputed
Yeah, you knew it was
court.
going to...
I'm saying this has been asked and answered.
Yeah.
You know, the Redskins lost.
Okay, so...
But then, in 2004, it didn't work. It augured a John Kerry victory when President Bush was reelected. And then it worked in 2008, did not work again last year.
Okay.
But, so now I've sort of...
So you're like 17 or 19?
17, 19. I don't like 17 or 19.
You like...
Yeah, to me, that's, you know...
Those are not good
I
numbers.
think it's run its course. However, you know, I've done a little further thinking on it. And, you know, sort of like people who try to predict earthquakes and try to figure out what all of the data means.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we don't understand everything now. We have
Right.
mere human intelligence. And so I'm seeing that the two cases where it failed were when John Kerry was challenging the incumbent President Bush, and when Mitt Romney was challenging President Obama 4 years ago. And what do those things have in common? Well, both Romney and Kerry were challenging incumbent presidents, and they're both from Massachusetts. And where did the Redskins franchise actually born? In Boston in the 1930s. And after playing there a couple years, in 1936, they were good enough, they got to the NFL championship game, and the owner was so disenthralled with the Boston fans, it was his turn to host the game. He moved it to New York. So we're not going to draw any fans. So he moves the championship game to New York, and next year they moved the team to Washington in 1937. That's how the Redskins got to Washington.
So you think it was just a fluke?
So I think that somehow the fact that these challengers to an incumbent president came from Massachusetts somehow reversed the polarity on the Redskins.
Oh my God.
Sort of like the Superman's fortress of...
Fortress
you know,
of...
remember where he reverses the polarity?
Yes.
That happened on this
kryptonite.
rule. So I'm thinking if you take that into account, we're still 19 for 19. What do you think?
So, who are the Redskins playing the week before the election?
Actually, it already happened. The game this past Sunday.
Who did they beat?
They beat the Eagles.
So that
At
means...
home. What does it mean? Incumbent party wins the election.
Well,
that would
I
augur
could
well for
before
Hillary
you
Clinton.
spoke for the last 20 minutes, I could have told you Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Okay.
So you think there's no chance Trump wins?
Is he from Massachusetts?
He's not from Massachusetts.
No, but his dad gave him $1 million to get started, so he really did struggle when he was little.
Hillary said it was $14 million with the first debate.
Probably was. Are you going to watch the debate tomorrow night?
Yeah, I guess I'll sound against baseball. I'll record the debate and watch them both sometime.
You know, my friend Paul once, he's a stand-up comedian, and he once said, my wife, I proposed to her, and I let her decide everything that had to do with the wedding. Absolutely everything, and she decided that we were going to get married the first weekend in February. So the first weekend in February, that's the Super Bowl. Any weekend but that, you can't we can't get married the first weekend of February. That's the Super Bowl. And she said, well, can't you just record it? And he's like, I'm not a moron. I can't record our wedding. No, we're just going to go ahead and pick a different wedding. Anyway, that was his...
Pretty good.
That being said,
so
you can watch the debate.
Well, and baseball, they're both on together.
You're never going to have anything like this again. Watch this.
Watch
the baseball,
what?
You can get your updates on your phone. The debate.
I'll watch them both. I got 2 TVs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I follow the Twitter. When I'm watching the debate.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter too.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on Twitter. Do you follow me?
I do follow you. Of course I follow you.
Why? I never tweet.
I know, but we just follow you anyway.
Okay.
But you should mine. It's not that interesting lately, but we're getting there. But I like other people's funny tweets. It makes me laugh. It's entertaining. Then on Thursday morning I'll talk about all
Sometimes
the
there's good articles, like the Washington Post with a good article, and link to this, and I'll read a couple paragraphs.
Yeah, because that's not. I don't. Mine's thing is not to get educated. I use the word occur, and then I figure out.
Oh, your kids are on there a couple times and put them up there.
Yeah, I do. On Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they make the way to Twitter.
Yes, sometimes they do that. Did you have fun with me today?
Yeah, past tense.
Are you having fun with me today?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lance, what else?
I mean, we're at the point where we almost have to end just because there's 5 minutes left.
so fast.
Last time I got a sunburn.
I know.
There was one question, just like an Elias question, maybe, if you don't
What's
mind
that?
Like, there was one question about Elias.
About Elias, yeah.
They just want to know how many people work at Elias. Like,
how many people work at Elias, actually? About half? No.
Half.
You're very witty.
But,
or if you don't want to go there, it's fine.
No, it's probably about 40, something like that. And we do all the official statistics for Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, starting soon. The National Hockey League, which just started this week. Did you see this player, Austin Matthews?
Is he a hockey player?
He had 4 goals.
A hockey player. He's 19 years old. He was born in Arizona. He was born in California, but moved to Arizona when he was an infant. His parents. I think his mother is of Mexican descent. Somehow, he grew up playing hockey in I shouldn't say somehow, the Phoenix Coyotes is very popular down there then, the Arizona Coyotes now. And fell in love with it, became the top player in the country. The Toronto Maple Leafs drafted him #1, and he played his first NHL game last week, scored 4 goals in the game.
That's amazing.
And the first guy ever to score 4 goals in his first NHL game. Just as amazing as the Maple Leafs dropped a 5-4 decision in overtime.
Really?
He got all 4 goals. Yeah.
One time, Steve knows this. Steve and I have been friends a long time. Dove under the table and threw something, and it was just one long word with a ton of consonants to another long word with a ton of consonants, and you had to sort of make highlights out of that, and it stressed me out. And then there were days when, if the game ended early, I would have to stretch.
You'd have to fill? Oh.
Yeah, filling hockey.
Not a good situation.
No, it would be like you filling. I don't even know if there's anything you don't know anything about. That was me.
Most things.
It was brutal, you guys. It was brutal. I was like, so I mean, they really, they wanted to win. They wanted to win, but they didn't win. John, what do you think? Like, literally,
Was John even there at the time?
There's nobody there at the time. But there were games that you and I did like post-game for, and I don't even know what the hell I was talking about half the time. But now I do.
Yeah, you've come a long way.
Somehow, some way, I've managed to retain some of that information that was passed along to me.
So what do you're on every day now, huh?
Every day. Yeah, we did 4 hours. We're on the last 2 minutes here. We've somehow managed to
do
get to
4 hours by yourself. Wow. On today's show, they do 4 hours, and they've got 14 anchors
shows.
or something.
And they have many more camera people.
Yeah, they lost one. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left, so just do the closing.
Oh, okay, I'm going to do my closing.
Okay.
Even though. Oh, by the way, I tried out for Homeland today. Did I tell you that?
You tried out for it?
I auditioned for a line, for a part on Homeland. It was one line.
What were you playing? You're allowed to say?
We're playing a reporter #4. It wasn't very exciting. I also think I blew it. Yeah.
Who's playing reporter #1?
2 and 3.
Come on.
There was no 1 in my room, but 2 and 3. I read their lines too because I think they felt bad for me when I read the 4th.
Really?
It was just, can you speak up? We can't hear you back here.
Can you move up to reporter #2 if you did well?
I don't know, but a girl can dream, can't she? You guys, we had a great show today. It started and it's ending with the nicest people I know. And I honestly love this guy. Nicest person I know. But so much more than that. Everything I know about sports didn't come from you. But it was a good start to the sentence. Thanks for hanging out and for listening to great music and for getting to know Lance's ex-wife. And now I know how to push your buttons, Lance. So it's going to be a fun next couple of weeks.
Like you needed help after yesterday.
Like I needed help after yesterday.
I thought you were just going to call Susan.
We have an equally fun show tomorrow, 11 to 3. Come back, hang out with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.